What's up, guys? Welcome back to Truth About Him podcast, number one podcast for mental health and wellness. I'm Anthony.
I'm Baron.
Welcome back to the show. Welcome to episode number 26. Are we on?
26.
26. So we're having fun doing this. Hope you guys are having as much as fun listening to us because this is something that we love to do, right?
Absolutely.
So we're back another week. So
Another week.
weeks, how was your week?
Man, it's good to have a week where you can reflect on things. I was thinking about it and I'm like, damn, okay, I'm learning to be more patient.
Right.
The older I get, the more impatient I get, I think. And
it's called dementia.
But in all, I still are. I'm like, okay, I gotta learn to be patient. Things don't work on necessarily my time, so I'm learning to sit and be still, so to speak. So
Yeah, for me, a little same. Being patient. Being still. Just really letting things. I don't want to say like working themselves out, but seeing what goes on in life and then adjusting and see why things happen, and then just learn from everything that I experience every day. Right.
Exactly. What I'm learning is, and you can help me out with this one, is when we're rushing and we're in a haste to get stuff done, we have all these questions we want to ask. We want to why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? Or why, just a whole bunch of whys. Right. And I find out if you are just still and you let it unfold, all of those questions and more are answered.
Right.
All I got to do is just be still. And every question that I wanted to know, it's either answered for me or there's a more of a clarity, right, so to speak, right, and it answers that question for me. So
if you look at nature in our world, the most calming part of the day is 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. and that's the most cleanest part of the day.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of the day.
So it's clean, it's calm, and it's still, right? Because people are moving around. Yep. It's not till the world gets busy, we get all the smog, all the commotion, all the traffic, everybody just running around. So when you're still, when you're calm, that's when that's what that creates clarity. Right,
peace.
So you're at peace. So so good.
So
today we're talking about what do red flags really mean.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
That's a big one. Red flag. And I think red flags are important to recognize. But what do they truly mean? Now, let me ask you, what do red flags mean to you?
Red flags aren't necessarily we connotate red flags with a bad thing,
right?
And sometimes red flags aren't necessarily a bad thing. Red flags tell you, if we're talking about persons, red flags tell you who a person truly is. Red flags, if it's a situation, red flags in situations, whether they're professional, at work, or whatever, they show you what the situation truly is.
Right.
And it's up to you what are you going to do with that red flag? Now, are you, sometimes it's just like, stop. This is what it is. Now, are you fine with that? Then you keep moving forward.
Right.
If you're not, then you need to address that red flag. So red flags are simply warning signs or highlights of the true situation of what it truly is. So doesn't necessarily mean you stop, turn your back, and leave the situation. It's just, I think we just put that connotation on it of, oh, that's a red flag. I gotta pull away from that. I gotta leave that alone.
Right.
I don't think that necessarily means that per se.
Yeah, I was thinking about that last week. Like what is a red flag? Because I believe every person who lives on this earth has a red flag.
Absolutely,
right? Everybody does.
Absolutely.
And if you constantly ran from red flags, I don't think relationships would be what they are, or they will last. Right. Mm-hmm. So I always used to think that red flags mean stop, run, go. Don't go there. But in learning in my journey, a red flag for me means stop, look, and evaluate. Right, mm-hmm. Stop, look, and see if it's something that you want to move past. Right, because again, everybody has that red flag. Right, everybody has red flags. Everybody has something in their life that they're pushing through, working on. They have trauma behind, like what have you. But it's all there. So if you're constantly running from red flags, in my opinion, you're gonna be running for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right. Again, there's some things that you should not deal with. You should not put up with. Because that's your personal choice. But some things you can kind of like work past. And I think we live in a world. I think we do. I think we do. I can be wrong, but I think we live in a world of perceived perfection that you have to be perfect to be in my life. You can't make any mistakes.
I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask a question just for shits and giggles. Where do you think that comes from? Where do you think that thought process comes from?
Man, I'm gonna go back to my default for everything. I think social media plays a massive role.
Yeah.
A massive role in that, right?
Yep. I don't disagree.
And that you have to be perfect. But the expectation of perfection to me is ludicrous because the person that's expecting it is not perfect, right? But they want this perfect image of a male or a female, right?
Yep.
But they're not. So yeah, it's definitely social.
It's definitely social. But we always say just because it's in front of our eyes and we hear it, we don't necessarily have to obtain it. We don't have to, just because it flashes across our timelines or, it always starts with us. We control our own narrative. Social media can play a part into it, but it's about knowing, okay, that's social media. That's not necessarily me. So I always say, it always falls on us. I'm always looking in the mirror. You take control over what you see and what you hear and all of that. You're responsible for that. As soon as we start, blaming social media for who we are as a person or what we expect as a person, then we give social media the power over us. I always say I don't give no external anything can tell me about the power of me internally.
Yeah.
I just believe that, and if I died today, I'm gonna think that way till the day I die, because that gives me power over me. I control how I think, what I believe, what I choose not to believe. So you're definitely right. Social media does play a part, but I just feel that we should always hold some kind of accountability. We big on that.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, that should really holds no weight with people.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've done the work. You've figured out things that you need to figure out to be a better, husband, be a better man, be a better brother, father, what have you, right?
Still figuring it out.
You're still figuring it out. but you've done some work. You've done a lot of work.
Done some work.
And yeah, I know social media shouldn't, but most people go to social media for their answers, for their direction, for what should I do? Should I do this, do that, or this is the image that's being portrayed. So this is the image that I should live. What's the life I should live because this is what's out there.
Right.
And people put so much confidence in the word of someone else because they made a post. Right. And I mean, and that's fine because it can go both ways.
True.
Right. I mean, there is some good stuff on there. There are some good people on there that will help you expand.
Of course.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, right. Duh. Right.
Of course.
That help you expand. You listen, but then you go back and you confirm what's said.
Right.
Yourself by reading. You study the word. Proved. Right. So it's the same thing. Like whatever you hear on social or from anybody, go and verify if that's accurate, because there are more than one way to go and figure it out. Right. There's all kinds, but I think that there's so much investment put there that it tells you, well, if he or she shows you a red flag, your ass better run because that's it. I get it. You're going to have red flags. It's going to happen.
I think it should happen, actually.
Talk to me about that.
I think you should have. I think you should be able to see red flags. Let's take it, if we'll look at it from 2 points. We'll look at it from the person that is viewing the red flags. Okay. Red flags tell you a lot about your own self. Red flags, if I see a red flag, let's just take an example. Let's just say I'm in a relationship and I'm dating, and I find out that, this person is not as driven as I thought. Okay. I'm a little bit more driven than her. That to me is a red flag for me.
Okay.
Because I'm on the freeway. I'm
Moving.
I'm moving. I'm in the carpool lane.
Switching lanes. Moving,
Switching
dipping,
lanes.
right?
I'm rolling.
Right.
I'm rolling. And this person is, really timid on the freeway. And I'm like, okay, that's a red flag to me because you're not moving as fast as I would like you to move. So I'm going to leave you. We're going to leave. I'm going to leave you. So that's a red flag for me watching this. So now my question to myself is, am I going too fast? Am I going too fast? Or could I slow down to meet this person halfway because there's more good things there's more value that this person adds to me. And maybe if I slow down, she'll speed up and we can meet somewhere in the middle. Right. So I asked myself this question: is that person that I just witnessed that red flag, is it worth me compromising my speed for? Should I slow down for this person? Is this person worth it for me to slow down in hopes that maybe she will speed up? Maybe, maybe not. But that's a question I ask myself when I see that red flag. Now, if we look at it from the other aspect of the person that's having the red flags, is maybe they're used to moving at that pace because that pace works for them. They've never been pushed to go any faster. So this is what they're used to. This is their normal. And they're not willing to change. Now that's a conversation. Like if I'm willing to slow down for you to speed up and kind of meet in the middle and you're not willing to meet me halfway, that's a conversation we need to have. Why am I willing to, for lack of a better word, sacrifice my speed for you and you're not willing to upgrade or move a little bit faster for me?
Yeah.
So in the conversation, it goes a little, you can go down that whole rabbit hole of, whys, but I look at red flags as it's good for the person that sees it because you kind of have some kind of self-actualization about yourself.
Right.
And the flip side is, what if a person that you see all these red flags, yet you ignore them, yet you're still with this person, you're still with this person. How does that translate in your relationship now? Do you lose yourself? Do you lose yourself completely with that person because you've ignored multiple red flags and you kind of lose your own identity in that? I don't know, but I think it's a slippery slope if you ignore red flags.
Yeah. I mean, I can I can see a red flag, but when it's like plural, I think at that point you need to evaluate who you are because you're accepting, or it can be one red flag that keeps coming up over and over and over again. Because if there's a red flag there, I think that's something that can be worked on through communication, through respect, through honor, and liking or loving someone so much that, you know what, I hear you, I see it. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. Now I'm gonna work on this one for me because I know ultimately it affects me, but it's going to be for us, right? And I'm not sure if you ever heard that phrase, but you're talking about being on the freeway, and the phrase is that if two people are walking and one's ahead, eventually one's going to either speed up to you, or the one in the back is going to come back to you. But eventually, you guys will be walking exactly at the same pace.
Right.
But which one do you want? Right. If you're up here, I want somebody that's going to come up and meet me.
Right.
I don't want to drop back.
But again, the question is, what if you're moving too fast?
But what's moving too fast? Like what's moving too fast?
That's the thing. Like, what if the person that is they move slow, maybe because they're cautious, maybe because they want to make sure that all of their ducks are in a row. Maybe they're just a thinker and they just don't move as fast as a person, as opposed to the person that's on the freeway rolling. They don't necessarily think about all the consequences. They just like, I'll worry about that when I get to it.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm gone. I don't worry about the traffic. I just know we got to get to Vegas like now, and I'm out. And the thinker is probably like, well, if we leave at midnight, we'll probably get there in 3.5 hours. If we leave now, it's going to take us almost four and a half hours. Personally, I don't care about that, you know. So that's what I'm talking about as far as like slowing down. Okay. Not necessarily, you know, stopping your momentum or completely changing who you are, but maybe thinking about some things that you never even thought about that may cause you to not make those decisions so fast because you didn't think about different variables or different aspects. So that person that's the slower person is a red flag, and it's not a big red flag either. Remember, red flags are just a highlight of who a person truly is. So is that person forces me to think about the totality of a situation, and now I don't move as fast as I would normally do. Yeah. You know?
It's up to you to evaluate.
It's up to you to evaluate. It's all subjective. It's all subjective, but there's still red flags nonetheless. Now you have the other red flags that are, you know, that are the typical ones, you know, the
toxic ones.
The toxic ones, yes. You know, those red flags. That person's always, you know, either I don't know, either just a yeller or you know, or is a why didn't you kind of person. You know, those are, you know, why didn't you take this out? Why didn't you do that? That's a red flag. You know, like I don't move like that. So why, you know, it's just it's subjective. But I don't think that you should, like we said, red flags are going to be everywhere. They're going to be. I have red flags. We all have our own red flags. But how does those red flags translate to the person that sees them? Because here's the question. Do the person that has the red flag or the red flag realize that they're giving off red flags? If it's their normal?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so because ask me a question. Ask me this question. What's your red flag?
What's your red flag?
So you ask that question. Quick, you ask that question. So
what the hell is your red flag, bro?
So I think it takes a lot of work, intuition, processing, and going deep and thinking and looking and learning about yourself to know what your red flag is.
I agree with that.
Right? It took me a while to figure it out. Right? Mm-hmm. My red flag is I get irritated quick. Right? Quick, and I will say some shit. Right? And to me, it's about communication. Right. Communicating how I feel, but also it's about language.
How you say it.
How you say it. Because you have to communicate in a way where that person's going to receive it.
Right.
Right? You have to. And if you love that person, you will. So I had to learn language. Mm-hmm. Right?
Because you can't speak to everybody the same way.
I had to learn language. So I know that even though for me, you know, I may not have intentionally wanted to be rude or to hurt you or to do whatever, but I know that to me it's like, okay, this is how I felt. But knowing how important language is will make or break your growth with anybody. It can be with a spouse, it can be with a business partner, it can be, you know, you and I, you know, our language has to be on point so we can communicate clearly.
Right. Yep.
So I know my red flag is I'm quick, not anymore, but I can get irritated or I can get a little bit, you know what, in this moment, I don't feel important. In this moment, I don't feel seen. In this moment, I feel like I'm being left behind. So I'm gonna say something. Which again, it's okay to express how you feel.
Right.
But it's the language you choose to speak around that. Right.
Completely agree with that. It is. We say it. You could say anything to anybody, but the emotional intelligence comes with knowing how to articulate those feelings to a different person. If somebody is ultra sensitive and we're over 6 feet, 2+. So if we say something aggressive, it can sound and look very intimidating. Mm-hmm. So I think about that when I'm speaking to certain people, because I don't want that to be the first thing that you hear when I'm speaking to you is, oh, I'm intimidated, I'm going to shut down. Now everything that I say after that is falling on deaf ears. Right. So it's up to me to figure out how to articulate this to the person, and that's if the person is worth it.
Bingo.
That's if the person is worth it. I'll ask myself that question, like, is this person worth me even putting all this time and energy into trying to figure out how to express this thought that I have in my head? If the answer is yes, then I do the work. If the answer is no, then I'll tell you straight up, like, look, this is bullshit. I don't like it. And the word no doesn't require an explanation.
You know what the cool part of that is? The cool part of that is even though it can be a red flag that you notice, that is meant for you, not for them, right? Because people will teach you about them, and you learn about yourself, right? You know that, dang, you know what? Even though that person's not good for me, I learned so much by being in a relationship with them about myself.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So
that's important.
That's very important. Very, very important.
That's important. You have to be on that journey of self-awareness, self-improvement, because as you get older, you're in different situations, different scenarios. You develop different relationships, both professionally and personally. And you got to learn how to articulate differently in every aspect. Like, I'm not going to talk the same here that I would on the basketball court.
True.
Completely different person.
True.
Completely different person. So you got to learn how to, and I think that's where the growth comes from, is you got to learn how to be different and speak differently in different situations, because you want to be taken seriously. You want to be taken authentic. You don't want to be labeled as something less. I've had that experience, just being labeled as something just because I was a certain age. Because I was 18 and I was really trying to, so back in like the early mid 90s, I worked with the Lakers, and I wanted to become more. I wanted to grow in that profession. And yeah, I literally was told that we don't take you seriously. We can't take you seriously. You can't manage people who are older than you. So we'll just put you in as this, and good luck.
Right.
I mean, that wasn't good enough for me. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and exit stage left. So, but ever since then, I've had a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I literally had a chip on my shoulder. No longer will people tell me what I can and cannot do. No longer will people talk to me like I am less than. And when I thought about that, it started with me first. Again, you have to look, how are you speaking to others? Right. You want to be respected. You want all of this, you want this respect to be at whatever level you want it to be, or you just don't want it to be at the level it was. But you have to also portray that. You have to, you have to exude that. You have to give respect to those. You have to be super intentional. So, I always, we always say it always starts with us.
So the red flags, we're talking about that they're meant for us, because we have to learn about ourselves, right? We have to learn. Well, you're supposed to learn about yourself, and if you can do that, that makes you a better person, right? That makes you a better human. That makes you a better, male or female, just a better partner, better mother or father or son, daughter. It just makes you a better
human.
Just a better human.
Yes.
And I just wish most people, saw that, and thinking that, okay, if someone notices something in me, and it can be right or wrong, right? It's just what it is. If someone knows something in me, and even if I don't believe it or accept it, I take stock and see, well, is there something there? There's something there that they're seeing, and maybe I can stop and take inventory of who I am, and decide, you know what? Yes, they're right, or hell no, they ain't right.
But you know why you did that? This is how, now I'm gonna bring it right back to it. You know why you did that?
Why?
Because the person that said it to you, you allowed them in your circle. That means you trusted them or cared enough for them to be around you, and whatever they tell you, however it is, good or bad, there's some value there, because you deemed them valuable.
Right.
So it all, again, starts with us.
Let's talk about this.
Uh-oh.
Right. Let's talk about this. So if a person sees a red flag in you, right, they bring it up. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, I'm going to say sometimes, it's possible that that red flag is their own insecurities.
1,000%. You got to check the Carfax. You got to see where it's coming from.
Check the Carfax.
You got to see who is it.
Right.
Is that person an asset or a liability to your life? Then that's always been my thought process. Who is saying it? Who is saying it?
The person can even be an asset, but they still have those insecurities because based on what they've went through or been through in life, right? Because you can have, for example, I'm in real estate, right? I can buy a house as an asset, and I bought it for X amount. I'm gonna sell it for X amount of profit, right? It's an asset,
right?
But when I get into it and look into it and invest into it and start getting to the bones of it, I see, damn, we got busted pipes,
right?
We got wired issues, right? These things can all be fixed, right, with the proper care. I believe that when, to a certain extent, if someone has some insecurities that they don't use to disrespect you or dishonor you, you handle them with care and help them through it.
Absolutely.
Right? And you support them through it. However, if they are blaming you for insecurity, saying that I'm this way because of you, I wasn't here until I met you, that shit has to go. Right?
True.
People have to be accountable for their life, what they create, and everything that comes with that.
1,000% agree with that. That goes along with like finding out what true power really is within yourself and others. And true power is not exuding it. True power is self-discipline and mental self-control. Those two things create a certain power dynamic within yourself.
Mental self-control. What is that?
Mental self-control is basically, I have this thought, like you just said, putting their insecurities on other people.
Right.
Your red flag is an insecurity that I have within myself, so I portray that on you.
Right.
Mental self-control takes that away. Mental self-control is not putting mental self-control is acknowledging my insecurities and realizing that's a red flag. But wait a minute, is it really a red flag, or am I tripping? How many times do we say that? Am I tripping?
Right.
Am I tripping, or is this, is it rainier than it has been? Like, am I tripping? So that part that's mental. To me, that's what mental self-control relates to, is before you start projecting on other people, let's look within self and make sure that you're not projecting your own insecurities on the person you're deeming to have red flags.
Is that the same thing as emotional intelligence in a sense?
In a sense.
Okay.
In a sense. Okay. The difference between that is emotional intelligence allows you to articulate to the person that you're speaking to. Mental self-control is something you deal with within self. So, yeah, that's the biggest difference between those two. But emotional intelligence is key when you're dealing with red flags because, like you said, we're going to have them. You're going to see them. But just imagine this. You're in a relationship, you see a red flag, you articulate it to the person as best as you can, respectfully.
Right.
That person accepts that constructive criticism and realize that there may be some validity there.
Right.
And now you guys work on that together. On the other side of that, look at the growth. Look how far you guys both came together. And that shows that A, I can tell you anything.
Right.
B, it's me and you against the world because we're going to make sure that we're on point together and we're going to keep forging and pushing forward together. And I'm comfortable with you telling me about anything that you see and vice versa. So we hold that mirror up to each other constantly without disrespecting each other.
Do people always have red flags, or can those red flags become green flags? Or can they go from red to yellow to green?
That's a great fucking question. I think that you're never going to get away from red flags. There's no... Because that means if you don't have no red flags, that means you're perfect.
Well, I mean like the same red flag.
Oh, the same. So your question is, can the same red flag be shown in a relationship and growth still come?
No, so can that red flag become red to yellow to green, right?
Yes.
It was discovered, it was talked about, it was worked through, it was processed through, and now we have a green flag.
Yeah. So that means green flag it no longer exists then, right?
Right. Right.
I think you can do that.
Do you think that? Go ahead.
No.
Okay. Do you think that in our current society, people look at like someone can have one or two red flags, but have 50 green flags, but that person that they're in relationship with they stop the progress because of two green flags. I have 50 green flags here, 50 goals, but these one or two are making you want to stop. And I know it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
It definitely depends on what it is. Yeah. It, to answer your question, yes. Now to be more specific is yes, it can only because of you. If you deem these flags as, we talked about it, like when you see these red flags and you don't deal with them and they become your new normal,
Right.
then you become used to it.
Right.
It's just like someone who's getting beat in their relationship and they've never, they've never gotten beat before in their relationship and now they're getting beat and, I love them. They take care of me. And so it becomes their new normal, or they only do it when they're stressed out, but they're stressed out like 5 times a week.
Right.
Like that's crazy to me. That's not normal. But when you sit there and you make excuses and you placate the situation and you validate that person's red flags, then yeah, you're going to turn that red flag into it's not there anymore. It's your new normal. So to answer your question, yes. Now, is it healthy for you? Because like you said, the person's going to have red flags all day long. Yeah. But is it healthy for you? Are you okay with, getting hit 5 days a week? Like, no, that's not cool. And that's going from, that's an extreme. I'm going way left with that. That's an extreme, but it happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So,
yeah. I mean, honestly, bro, us talking, I think red flags are a good thing, right? 'Cause I think you said it before, right? They're a good thing because it shows me or someone who's dealing with me, they're complete who they are, and who I'm complete, right? It shows you all of me, and in order to be in a relationship with me, I want you to see all of me, right? I mean, you know what? No, of course, I don't want you to see all of me. See the ugly, but I think it's part of healthy growth, right?
Absolutely.
I think it's part of good communication. I think it's part of long-lasting relationships, right? Because I think in this day and age, people jump into boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife way too soon, and they're in relationship with a freaking stranger. They don't know as much about them as they need to.
Right.
She fell in love with Prince Charming, and he fell in love with Princess Charming.
Or
right?
the idea of Prince Charming and the idea of
Right.
Princess Charming. A lot of people fall in love with the idea of a relationship,
Right.
versus the reality of the
Right,
relationship.
We all send our representative when we first meet somebody.
course,
We
of
all like
course.
I'm be on my best behavior, but
Yep.
you can't maintain that. Just like they say in basketball, right? This team's on a run. They can't maintain that run the whole game.
Nope.
They're going to get fatigued. They're going to
Yep.
break down. They're going to their conditioning is going to show its head, right?
Exactly.
Same thing between a man and woman. Like at a certain point, they're going to get tired and fatigued, and like who they are, their conditioning is going to come out. Now, some conditioning is worse than others, but I believe that in order to truly love someone, that person has to see everything, right? You're good, you're bad, everything in between.
Yep.
Right? Because you are human. You have human experiences. Life, things happen, right? And if you're the only perfect person that's walked this earth was Christ, right? That's it. So if I'm expecting myself to be perfect, I'm delusional. If the person I'm with expecting me to be perfect, they're delusional, right?
Absolutely.
Because it does not exist. And if 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 my red flags are too much for you, I respect that, right? Thank you for teaching me this lesson. Thank you for exposing me and showing me who I am. Now let me go back to the drawing board. Let me go back to the class and work on that, right?
Exactly.
And it's because every time I hear something, me, I'm gonna reflect. I'm gonna work on it. Okay, you know what even if it was not my fault, even if I didn't cause that situation, I'm gonna always go back and reflect. How can I do things differently?
Yep.
Could I have moved different? Could I have said something different? Can I have whatever? Right? I'm gonna look at myself because everything for me, I'm at a point now where I don't look at anything as a failure. Right? It's like, what was my lesson in that? 'Cause everything is a lesson.
Yep.
Everything's a lesson.
Yep.
Right? Every conversation, every interaction, everything is a lesson. Right?
Everything you hear,
It's a lesson.
Yep.
Right. So that's why I'm like, let me go back and evaluate how Anthony could have did something different. Because if I'm in a place, you and I, if we ever get to a place where, we have a breakdown, we have an argument, and you come say, hey, this was going on. Obviously, I played a role in your frustration.
Right.
Obviously. Right. So if I did, let me go back and evaluate what my part was. I think I said this in our very first podcast. It was like, we have to.
Damn, you going back 26 episodes?
26 episodes.
25 episodes.
25. So we as people, as humans, we always have to evaluate the role we played in trauma, right? Because it's always two people, always two sides. Always two sides. Even though you think you're right, everybody tells you you're right, you have no doubt, you know what, that was that person. But you played a role in creating what happened.
Right.
Right? So always go back and evaluate the role you play, evaluate yourself, evaluate how you could have did things different. Good or bad. You could have been too nice.
Could have been too nice.
You could have been too, and you should, like, sometimes you gotta pop out, right?
Sometimes you just gotta pop out and show it.
Yeah, so right. So it's like, you gotta evaluate what can you have done differently, good or bad.
Yeah. Could you have, sometimes you're too nice, so that means you bite your tongue a lot.
Right.
You let a lot of shit slide. So maybe I shouldn't have bit my tongue. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have said something earlier.
Right.
Then it wouldn't have gotten this bad.
Right.
It wouldn't have gotten this disrespectful between each other. Right. There's always, when you stab somebody in the back, you always have some of your own blood on that knife. You always. So you always have to. If you're always, somebody told me this like in grade school, stop pointing at people. Stop doing this, because when you do this, you got three fingers pointing back at you. So stop pointing that one finger at somebody, because every time you point at somebody, you got three pointing back at you.
Right.
Or the never say never, I never say never, because when you say, you said never twice when you do that. So that means you double down on negative talk.
Right.
So you have to always look interpersonally within yourself. How could I have done this better? We talked about that. That's one thing I can say, that's the constant theme on this pod, is no matter what the topic is, we always circle back to looking at yourself.
Right.
Looking inward, taking accountability for self first before you lash out to the world. Right. So good kudos to us. I mean, we on here.
Doing something.
We doing something, We doing something. We the ones you should listen to.
We the ones you should listen to.
Just saying.
The thing is that we listen to ourselves.
that part, right? That part.
It's to ourselves, and like push and grow, and become a lot better. So red flags can become green flags,
Yes.
if that person works on it. And I think it's important that you're in a relationship with someone who actually takes the time to do that, to reflect and look at oneself and see, but that takes time. It takes work. It takes a lot of something. This thing keeps happening in my life. If there's an accident and you're always at the scene, then it's time for you to start looking at yourself.
It's time to look at yourself.
And most people, I won't say most, but most people don't. Mm-hmm. They're always blaming an outside source. And sometimes we can be our own red flags,
Yeah.
right? We can red flag ourselves, and like we can sabotage ourselves, and we can get in our own way. And it's not always someone else, but it's just important to just look inward and figure out every day, how can I become better? How can I become a better Anthony, a better me? But but do it for yourself. If you do it for yourself, and you have a partner, it will automatically be for the relationship, because the better you become, the
Right.
better we become. Right.
Exactly.
And I think that's an important part, is that it's okay to look and get self care and take care of yourself and make sure that you're doing well. Because as men, our whole goal is, I'm gonna take care of them first, and then take care of me second.
True.
Right?
True.
But that's not how it should be.
You know what? That's not how it should be, but how many times that's how it is? How
Probably
many
like 9 out of
times
10.
yeah. How many times have we, went out to eat and let them order their foods first? Or how many times have we made food and let the family eat? Because as men, we feel we're providers, we're protectors.
Right.
You go ahead and eat that. I'll find something.
Yeah.
It's we do that all the time. We sacrifice. We do that. I would say to make sure that you take time out for yourself, because an unhealthy you provides nothing for the family.
Right.
An unhealthy and imbalanced you does nothing for your family. So make sure that you take time out for yourself. Make sure that you remember the things that made you happy, the things that you enjoyed before you were in a relationship,
Yeah.
before you was a father, the things that drew happiness to you, and try to find what does that look like for you now at this stage of life. Can you even do this? Can you even, some of us, are fortunate to play basketball and stuff like that as a pure thing of joy. But I used to play from like, I said some
Pure joy.
pure joy. Yeah, but I used to be on the court all day from like 10 to 4.
Wow.
And man, no, I can't do that no more.
Yeah.
So, but just I gotta be. I can't self delude myself either. Like, I'm still gonna do all this. I'm about to do all. Nah, those days is done, bro.
Yeah.
Those days are done. But it brings a certain joy. It brings a certain peace, and it's my time.
Right.
And
Right.
so you have to, with all the sacrifices that we do, you gotta make sure that if you can sacrifice for somebody else, why can't you sacrifice for yourself? You know? So regardless of who it is, kids, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, if you can sacrifice for them with ease, why can't you sacrifice for yourself?
The better you become, the better you take care of them.
Exactly. They tell you that on the airplane. Put your mask on first. Before you help anybody else, put your mask on.
That's wild. I mean, I think for me, the biggest aha moment that I got out of this show is that what you just said, and also be self aware. Be aware of yourself, and be aware of who you are. Be aware of your red flags, and if someone says something to you about who you are, listen, because the first thing that we want to do is get offended.
Yeah.
Right. And of course they could be wrong.
True. Yeah.
But the goal is just to listen, hear them out, and then go back and self evaluate. And I think for me, like this week is going to be that, just like listen more and talk less. And okay, you know what? I'm gonna listen to everything that he or she is saying, right? And then I'm gonna take it in. I'm gonna take inventory. Check. Yeah, this sounds good. Nah, this doesn't. Yeah, this. Yeah, but
I like how you clean that up too. I'm gonna take it in. Pause. I just had to let that go ahead. I'm sorry, my fault.
You let it go. You said it, right? You let it go. But I'm going to just evaluate, because I know that I do that day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, and in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, I will be 1,000 times better than I am now, right?
I mean, that's the goal.
And that to me is exciting, to become better than I am now. It's like I'll become that valuable that I'm like, I'm amazing myself, right? So that's my takeaway from this pod.
Yeah, I think that is great, bro. We should do an episode on like the benefits and also sometimes the power of, is there such thing, as just a question, is there such thing as too much self-reflection? Like when you're worried, and I'm just asking, I don't think that there is, but is there such thing as too much of anything is bad for you, I believe, but too much self-reflection, is that a bad thing? Does that take away from the partner?
I'm gonna say no, because
I don't think so.
You and I had a conversation on Monday, and we were talking, and you said, well, yeah, Anthony, sometimes because of where you came from, you have to over communicate,
right,
to make sure that that things are good,
right.
So I think for a season, based on what you experience, you can, you can, but I think it's for benefit of growing.
True.
Right? You're growing and helping you think. I mean, we can't overthink and overanalyze. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I've been guilty of reading things more than they are, but that's why I ask questions. I ask a lot of questions, like a lot of questions. I'm like, damn, like, yeah, because I want to know.
I want to know.
I want to know
clarity.
I'm not going to assume or make up stories. I mean, I'm gonna still assume, make up stories, but I'm gonna ask for clarification.
Right.
I'm asking, well, this is what I'm thinking. Is this going on? And sometimes people I deal with, that can become irritating, because I will ask the same shit over and over and over again, because you know what? I'm just not sure. I'm still questioning that, but I'm gonna ask you again. But that's just me.
I do that too.
That's just me. I'm gonna ask. Like, you asked me, I have no idea, but you know what? Obviously, I'm not sure still. So it's like, is there a way that you can just answer it? And I know that too much of that is too much, but at some point I just have to just like take this or deal with it. But that's just me, bro. I ask a shit ton of questions,
and I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes what happens is the person you're asking questions to gets annoyed, and they don't have the answer. So it's easy for them to just get defensive.
Or don't answer it.
As opposed to saying, that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that right now. Let me find out.
Right.
Ego plays a part in saying I don't know. There's nothing wrong with saying I don't know.
Right.
But you gotta check the egos at the door, bro, because I look at ego, what has it gotten you thus far?
Yeah.
What kind of clarity? You can only go so far by yourself, but when you have a community behind you, shit, you can go a whole lot further. Right. So, that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, just to give me ideas for future episodes. But yeah, cool. So, any words of closing?
Words of wisdom for today is just make sure that you look internally and self-reflect and know that you can't please everybody all the time. Yeah. And so, with knowing that, if you know you can't do it, why even try? Right. So
we still try, don't we?
We still try. I mean, we can't just go outside and flap our arms and take off.
Right.
Why would we try that?
Why would we try that?
Yeah. So, do what you can control and honor that. Yeah. Stay within that lane. That's what I would say.
Very cool. Yeah, that was a good one. Good information on that one. But yeah, I echo everything you're saying. So guys, that's the podcast, the 50 by Him podcast, #1 podcast for men's health and wellness. So please like, share, subscribe, and there is someone in your life that needs to see this podcast, needs to hear this, so please share with them. Until next week, peace out. Have a good week.